They say the best camera in the world is the one you have with you. And these days, everybody has a camera with them. The phones in our pockets are some of the best cameras on the market today. So everybody is a photographer, right? I mean, anybody can go out there and get an incredible image just by grabbing their phone, pointing, and pushing the little button. And they've got a great image. So, do we really need the big cameras anymore? I think so. And so I thought tonight at golden hour, at sunset, let's go out with, I have an iPhone 14 Pro. So we'll take that out along with the Canon 80D and compare images. We'll get images of the same composition. We'll take one with the Canon, we'll take one with the iPhone, we'll take a look at them and pixel peep a little bit and just see just how good these iPhones are. This is a newer iPhone and my Canon is a few years old, so I don't know. How's it going to go? Let's try this as a test. Not saying this is a great composition, but it's a nice test with the palm trees in the light. So we're going to shoot this at 24 millimeters with the iPhone, at 24 millimeters with the camera, and then we'll compare the two. Another thing to keep in mind is the Canon camera is a 24 megapixel crop sensor. The iPhone has a mode where it can shoot 48 megapixels, so double the resolution than the Canon camera. The question is it real? And how is it going to look when we really examine and look close? Um, Obviously, the sensor on the iPhone is much, much smaller. So where do they get that 48 megapixels? I don't know, magic. But we're going to just see which one works better. Also, they both shoot in RAW format. So we have the camera in RAW, we have the iPhone in RAW also. This is a good spot to test for details. Also, it's looking straight down the end of the Pure and right into the sun, obviously. So we're going to shoot this with both cameras at 24 millimeters and at 77 millimeters. Okay, we'll do the same test here with this composition. That way we're not looking straight into the sun, which is going to be a little bit easier on both cameras. And what do you know? On the night of our test, we get a really nice sunset. Just beautiful. Really nice sunset tonight. One of the cool things when you're shooting with iPhone is it has a really nice dynamic range, meaning it can capture the foreground and the background and expose for both of them. Whereas when we're shooting with I'll say real camera, oftentimes we have to get different exposures and then blend them together manually for the same result. So that's definitely a benefit of iPhone. What we lose is some resolution in the process though. So I'll show you that, but for now, just enjoy this sunset. It's just too good. So you can walk home with me and look at the sunset. It's just stunning, right? Is there anything better? Okay, we're back from our walk, and I have our iPhone and our Canon photos back to back here in Lightroom so we can compare. All I did is I brought them in and I pushed auto on each one. So I did do that, but otherwise these are completely raw images right out of the phone or right out of the camera. Um, let's start with these two since these are the first two that we shot out there. Okay, on, see which one is this? Okay, on the right is iPhone, on the left is Canon. So, at first glance, their shapes are a little bit different, but um, got as close as I could here. So it's going to be good enough for us. So at the surface, I mean, it looks pretty darn good. The Canon might have a little bit of a brighter look, but that could just be the way the auto settings took it. So we could process each one of these to look just fine, I think. So um, I wonder about details. So if I zoom into this gazebo area on the hotel, this is the Canon. Obviously, it's blurry because the palm trees were the focus. But if we do the same thing on the iPhone shot, I don't know. iPhone might get the win on that one, even just without the blur. I mean, it looks like it just did a nicer job of rendering those details. I mean, they're still looks a little soft, not a lot of structure, um, but at least in this image, it's a little bit better than that Canon, but that might just be a focus issue. So if we go into the tree, Canon has some noise that you see, that kind of grain in the image. If we go to the same area on the iPhone, I don't know, let you be the judge of that. The colors on the Canon might be a little richer, a little deeper. Um, yeah, and it might be a focus issue, but here, I mean, iPhone did a really nice job capturing that photo. So cool, that looks great. If we look at, let's look at these two and let's compare. So on the left, we have Canon. On the right, we have iPhone. So let's zoom in. I don't know, let's look at the flag. It's pretty good. Let's look at the flag on the Canon. Okay, here we start to see it a little bit. Um, you see on the iPhone, it's just it kind of has that look of just a little like softer or like it's been painted. It kind of has that soft painterly type look. And this one, then the Canon has some focus issues. Obviously, the flag wasn't the focus of this photograph, but it looks to be just like it's rendered the details a little bit better. But again, I mean, when you look at it just as a whole picture, I mean, both of these are perfectly usable, and both of them would print up just fine, and both will just fine on an iPhone screen. iPhones tend to get a little bit more sun glare than the camera does, and I think that's just a dirty lens issue. I think if we were just have perfectly clean lens on the iPhone, then some of that would go away. So I'm not too concerned about that. If we just zoom in on the pier a little bit, okay, that's a good example of how it just starts to lose its structure a little bit when we get close. Let's take a look here. I don't remember exactly where that was. But yeah, even so, you can see that the details captured on the Canon, it just captured them a little bit stronger, I think. Yeah, I mean, again, it's very close. And I think iPhone is standing strong here compared to the Canon camera because they're great. You can see a little bit of a color difference. The Canon rendered the colors a little bit warmer versus a little bit cooler on the iPhone. But the, these are all raw files, so that can be modified as we see fit as we process these. But um, once again, iPhone did a really nice job. What about the trees? Yeah, iPhone's pretty solid. Okay, cool. Let's look at where we go next. Let's look at these two. Okay, so this time we have Apple on the left, Canon on the right. Um, Shooting like into the sun, iPhones start to have a little bit of trouble. Like if we zoom in on the pier, yeah, it just loses all detail once we start looking at the pier. Let's do the same on the Canon. Yeah, pretty major difference there. You can kind of make out the sign, sort of. Um, we have a lot of noise in the Canon, obviously. But as far as rendering details go, then I think the Canon has it beat pretty soundly here. We have some chromatic aberration issues to deal with on the Canon, but that can be removed in post processing. So, I mean, again, when we're doing photographs as, for fun or to share on the phone, iPhone it holds its own. I'll tell you that. Pretty impressed. Pretty impressed. But even, if we were comparing against a full sensor camera, I think the differences would be even stronger. This is a crop sensor camera, so we're dealing with a 24 megapixel camera here, so the details aren't that great just inherently. But you can see when we put it up against the iPhone that there is still quite a difference. Okay, let's look at these two. These two were taken just as the sun had gone down and we were walking back. On the left is iPhone, on the right is Canon. And so that's a little food hut on the end of the pier. So if we zoom in, yeah, it didn't get a lot of detail with the iPhone versus with the Canon. Oh yeah, that's where the differences are. So if you were to blow up a picture like this, and wanting to offer it for sale or print it large for your home, you'd want to make sure that you had a better camera to capture the details so that it could handle being enlarged. Because otherwise, once you're gonna lose details once that's bigger. But again, it may not be that big of a deal to you. And if it's big on the wall, you're not going to be standing your nose right up against it. You're going to be standing back and you can't see the sign anyway. So does it really matter? I don't know, personal choice. But um, this is interesting. This is interesting. iPhone is a heck of a good camera, and especially for walking around and just having it in your pocket and having it always accessible. Yeah, you can't go wrong. One more. So here we have Canon on the left, iPhone on the right. And if we just go in on the pier, it's a little blurry back there, but that wasn't our focus. Yeah, again, you can see just where the amount of detail captured is just stronger with the DSLR camera than versus the iPhone, which is to be expected. And again, how much does that matter to you? Personal choice. So, is the iPhone enough? Here's the definitive answer: it is if it makes you happy. Nobody asks a painter what kind of brush they used, right? It really doesn't matter. If an iPhone is plenty for you to go out and create what makes your soul happy, then it is plenty. Get out there, have fun, create to your heart's content, and the world is going to love it. And you're going to be happy. Your friends are going to be happy. It's just it's good. Just use what you have to create what you can. You don't need to go spend thousands and thousands of dollars to start. You have what you need. The best camera in the world is the one that's with you. So, yeah, if you want to go out and create a career as a portrait photographer or a world-class landscape photographer, yes, invest in the appropriate equipment to make that happen. If you want to start somewhere and just start creating and taking pictures and training your eye and looking for compositions and still getting quality that's good enough to share online and even in print, then yeah, iPhone is perfect and it's going to get you started and it's going to give you that kick, that extra start, just that it's the tool, it's accessible in your pocket already and ready to help you create. So I encourage you to get out there, start creating, share with the world. I'm excited to see it.